it's a fight just to make it to the top. Gotta prove yourself, show them what you got. Number one, it's a fight just to make it to the top. Gotta prove yourself and show them what you got. Number one, it's a fight just to make it to the top. Gotta prove yourself, show them what you got. Number one, it's a fight just to make it to the top. Gotta prove yourself and show them what you got. Number one.
Welcome to Educators for Life, a winning world show with Shermanda. Coming to inspire, motivate, encourage, to shed light, and bring hope. We will share testimonies and share stories of people from around the world who have chosen to live triumphant lives on purpose, overcoming adversities. And now, a winning world show with Shermanda.
Gotta prove yourself and show them what you got. Number one.
Call unto me, and I will answer thee, and show thee great and mighty things which thou knowest not. Jeremiah 33:3. Great day, beloveds. This is your host and founder of A Winning World, Shermanda. And as always, I send to each of you this day and every day love, hugs, and fellowship, agape-filled kisses and greetings. I read in the Reader's Digest a quote that states, life is what happens to us while we are making other plans. Wow. You know, when you think about that, how true is that? The problem with this is that we don't realize it until life actually has already happened. The beautiful thing in this is I believe that, nothing happens except God allows. And one of my very own personal quotes from my published book, Love Inspired Living, is a perfect fit to bring hope. I stated, every life occurrence is a life builder for greatness. Yes, I'm a firm believer of the word that states God's thoughts towards us are good, and our latter shall be greater. We know no matter what happens in life, it is turned around for our good. Today's guests know this all too well, and I have stood, and they have stood, and I have stood, and we all at some point have stood the test of time in faith, hope, and love. Let's welcome Laurel and Russ Youngstrom.
Good morning.
Good morning, Laurel and Russ.
Yes.
Are you there?
We're here.
Okay, welcome to the show this morning.
Thank you.
Good to be here.
Okay, it's great to have you here. And Laurel, we met years ago on, while traveling with Up With People.
Yeah, it's been a really long time.
It has been. We won't go into how long it's been, but you guys, we traveled the world. Was it 8 countries and how many cities, Laurel?
A lot.
It was about 148 cities. You don't
believe
remember
that sounds
these
right.
numbers?
I don't.
Well, I want you all to share with us, I know, what our life was and how we met and, just being able to travel the world, spreading love and hope across the nation with, I think, about 24 nations represented in our cast. We knew what it was like to step out of the box and, live a winning life with people that we had never met, and they became family. And we're connected with most of those family members even today after all of these years that have passed. So, Laurel, let's talk about what you did and how you and Russ met after Up With People.
I moved up to Seattle and got a job at the Space Needle, and he was maintenance at the Space Needle, and he worked, doing the Christmas lights and the painting and stuff like that, and I was a hostess in the restaurant, and we met, and the first time I had to give him a rain check because my mom had just sent me a ticket to my sister's high school graduation, but then he did ask me again, and we ended up dating and getting married.
Awesome. Russ, Mr. Russ, Talk to us. What was it about Miss Laurel that caught your attention?
She was pretty hot back then. I just saw her go up and down the elevator, and I'm like, eh. Then a friend of ours said she could hook us up, and she did. And then 3 months later, we're married.
3 months later?
Yeah, we got married in a hot air balloon.
Oh, awesome. So how was life? I know we're going to go into the accident, but how was life for you two before the accident?
We did all kinds of things that people usually do. I mean, we live in the Northwest, so we did a lot of hiking, and we go up to Mount Rainier and have snowball fights, and he had a motorcycle, so I got to ride on the back of the motorcycle, and we got to go to Hawaii in our honeymoon and walk on the beach together.
So you were living life, having a good time. Well, come on, talk to me about the accident. What happened? What brought us to this place?
The day I got hurt, woke up, gave Laurel a kiss goodbye, and looked at our son. He was down, and went to work like I did every day. And we had an easy task that day of power washing the outside of the building. And I always work unsafe because it won't happen to me. I'm 30 years old, a tough guy, a jokester, fast reflexes. And right before I fell, the guy upstairs, he used to still like fingernails on a chalkboard. And he warned me. And then by the time I could blink, I had fallen 30 feet.
You fell 30 feet. And what happened to your body? Because it's a blessing, and I mean, that you're still here. So what happened to you?
Are you still there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, so I landed head first and hit sideways. And so my injuries were cracked my head open, broke everything on the right side, punctured the lung, broke the back in 3 places, and severed the spinal cord. And it was instant.
And this left you paralyzed?
Yes, I'm labeled as a complete injury with a severed cord right above the belly button. I don't have, from the upper belly button down, I don't have any sensation.
So this totally, of course, we know, changed your life forever.
Yeah, but I also save money on shoes now. So there was some progress.
Russ, I love your sense of humor. Now, I know what happened, and I know, and that, how many years ago was this?
22 years ago.
23 years. And Laurel, what was life for you in this moment?
Well, I was at work at a nursing home, and I got a phone call, and had to drive to the hospital, really not even knowing if I was already a widow. That was probably the hardest part of all of it, just not knowing. And then when I got there, of course, he told me what happened, but at first I didn't believe him because he is a jokester, and a friend of ours told me that he was telling the truth, and that's when we just had to decide to keep going.
And where did you build? Where did all of the strength come from?
Well, I feel like that the strength came from my faith. Mm-hmm. That I just knew that I could get through it. With God on our side.
Yes. And you're telling me after he fell 30 feet, mm-hmm. Cracked skull, body, everything that happened to his body, he was still able to talk to you?
Yeah, he never lost consciousness, which is pretty unusual.
That's amazing. Wow. And there is nothing like our faith that keeps us standing and moving forward and knowing that, you know what, with God, all things are possible and we can make it. Now let us move into what is happening after the accident.
How long after the accident?
Well, just the process. I'm sure he had surgeries, things of that nature, just the climbing out to get to the place that we know that you're winning in now.
Right.
Yeah, I've had MRSA 12 times, osteobone infection 7, the pulmonary blood clot, calcium growth on the shoulders. It'll never end. The older I get, the more problems I'm having.
And as a caregiver, Laurel, what is it that you would, share with other people that are taking care of their loved ones in this same way? Some of the struggles that you faced, and, of course we know with God you had the strength, but, just being honest with struggles.
You just have to rely on him to do it because you can't do it by yourself. I haven't really been caregiver this whole time. I mean, maybe the first year when he wasn't able to take care of himself, and then this last year he had a shoulder replacement, and we have a caregiver for a few hours a day, but then in the evening and on the weekends, it's just me. But he still, he was 100% independent in between all this. He drove and everything, and he could still drive. He just has to have help getting in and out right now because he had a infection in the shoulder, and they are trying to get rid of it. And so when they get rid of it, they'll put the shoulder back because a couple weeks ago they had to take it out. So.
And that's the surgery that he had back in January?
Yeah, that was the original surgery. Then they did another surgery in February to try to get rid of the infection, and it didn't work. So, yeah, about, 3 weeks ago or so, he had a surgery to take the whole shoulder completely out. So he doesn't have a shoulder right now. Okay. But we're still doing presentations. He said he'd rather be in pain on the road doing something worthwhile than be in pain in the living room, laying in a hospital bed.
Well, let's move on into, what you all are doing now, because you didn't stop. He's not just home and just unable, having to have caregivers around the clock or what have you. It's not like your lives have ended. Let's talk about the winning, the things that are, bringing you even to this place, and why we are actually on this show. How are you winning? What has come about that you've been able to shed light on and become, experts in the field, after the accident?
For me, the more people that doubted me, the stronger we got.
I didn't hear that.
Oh, the more people tell me that I can't do something, mm-hmm. and that inspires me to prove everybody wrong and do it.
Yes. And what is it that you all are doing now that's allowing you to travel across the country?
We do safety presentations. We tell both sides of the story about how it affects everyone in the person's life when there's an accident. And we go to all different kinds of industries. We've been to more than a third of the states now. And we just tell our story and hope people listen and don't end up in the same situation. So you talk about how it affected our son and everything.
Mm-hmm. And how did it affect your son? We didn't talk about your son. We know he was there, but what were those effects?
He was 2, mm-hmm. and so he doesn't ever remember his dad walking. And he always wanted to be a big brother, and we always had to say no. He wasn't supposed to be an only child. So that's one of the things we talk about. You know, there's so many things that people don't think about when they're, you know, at work. They just focus on the task at hand and forget why they're there. They're there for their family, you know, to make a better life for them.
And this is now your company. What is the name of your company?
Youngstrom Safety.
And what are some of the companies that you've been able to do your presentations with?
We've done Shell. We've done a lot of oil companies, Tesoro and BP. We've done a lot of roofing companies, some drilling companies, Flatshaw. We've done Toyota. We did Toyota Logistics. We've done light rail, any kind of transportation companies, any place where there's a safety issue. We just did Amazon last week because they have a lot of warehouses, obviously, and there's a lot of potential to be injured.
And that's amazing that you've actually taken, you know, something that could have been a tragedy. To God be the glory. You know, life. Your husband still has life. You still have your husband. Your son still has his father. But you know, from him not taking the safety precautions and landing in this place, you're now able to travel the country and share the winning part of it, you know, as far as saying, hey, this is the importance of wearing your helmets, wearing your safety gear, things of that nature. And I think it's, you know, that's part of the turning things around for our good, no matter how bad things may appear and things may seem. When you have God on your side and you know him, you know that he's going to turn it around. As I stated, you know, he says his thoughts are good towards us. So irrespective to what we see, we know that his thoughts are good towards us. So good is going to come out. Actually, greater is going to come out because he says your latter shall be greater. So, Mr. Russ?
Yes.
Let me ask you, what has it been like, you know, being able to share your story? And, you know, have you had people coming and saying that because of your story, I've decided to do the right thing and, you know, protect myself? Can you share some of those things with us?
Yeah, we've done some of the talks, and a person in the audience will just raise his hand and stand up and tell us he saw it 7 years ago. And it's saved his life, and he's got a really good, happy family.
Wow.
Some people just come up and give you the look and a hug, then they walk away immediately.
It's a very emotional time.
Can you expound a little bit more on that, Laurel?
Oh, we have a lot of people coming up to us crying, and then sometimes they tell us their story, and it's always so much sadder. The person that was in the accident, or the person's child, he couldn't handle it, and they turned to drugs or alcohol or suicide, and we're just very fortunate. We're blessed.
Okay. Now let me ask you, who are some of your influencers that have influenced your life, both of you, to, you know, be who you are today, even through, you know, before the tragedy? What has actually been your influence to? We know faith, but we want to know or hear about some of the people in your lives that, you know, gave you, you know, put the seed of faith in you.
Well, I think our parents, for one. I mean, we both grew up going to Sunday school and and accepted Jesus as our Savior, and I think that's probably what started, you know, everything, and just kind of stayed with us, even if we, you know, may have wandered off at some times, but we always came back.
Mr. Russ?
Yes.
the same question for you.
It's this is a hard one to answer. I was always raised to be tough, quit whining, don't cry.
Hold
keep
on,
going.
we can barely hear you. Can you?
Can you hear me better now?
Yes.
Okay, sorry about that.
It's okay.
Yeah, just being raised to be tough. You don't whine, don't cry about the little things, and don't show emotion, and that's the way I was raised.
Mm-hmm.
But it took me 18 years to finally let the wheelchair situation go.
Wow. Okay, well, let me ask you this. What would be your words of wisdom to people that are listening now outside of, things that we know, that you do as far as the presentations, but, talk to the listening audience out here. What would you want them to know?
Work safe. It's not worth it. A lot of people think you get rich when you get hurt like I did. You lose your 401k, life insurance, medical, dental, all gone. And take the safety home with you also. And my accident was 100% my fault.
I think it saved his life.
Wow. Now, explain that, Laurel.
Oh, during the presentation, he usually says that because he says he's a better person now.
Mm-hmm.
And the way he was, he probably wouldn't have been in a very good place.
Mm-hmm. If it's not
So
too personal,
God just kind of woke him up.
Okay, it was a wake-up call. What if
right.
without going into full detail, if Russ could explain, what was his life, what was the mindset before the accident?
Just a tough guy. Didn't need to follow the rules. Pretty arrogant and cocky. A lot of the safety did not apply to me. And the day I got hurt, I had a safety meeting that morning, signed the clipboard, and then we started power washing. Had lunch, and the paper mill stopped our little group and said, "You have to go to our safety meeting." And so the last flight of stairs I ever walked up to was that safety meeting. It was a fall protection safety meeting. An hour and a half. I fell an hour and a half later.
Wow. The same day they talked to you all about safety. And
yes.
And it's amazing because I know I just read in the news maybe a week or two ago, there was a fellow that fell to his death, and he was not wearing the proper gear as well. So it's great that you can take, full responsibility for yourself and allow others to know that, what, we have a choice. And it sounds like you had a choice and you chose one thing. But what I hear from you is that good came out of it. So let's talk about that good, Mr. Russ.
I'm a better person in a wheelchair. I'm still ornery, but at certain times it gets bad, sometimes it gets good. I try to push the world away. It's like, you don't need to deal with this for 22 years. Go live a different life. Go live a fun life. And so that's the tough part on me, is knowing that Laurel could do much better in this situation.
Wow. Okay. And Laurel, what would you say to, wives and loved ones out there, an inspirational word or, encouragement to them?
I just think you can't try to do it on your own. You have to rely on God, because none of us can really do anything on our own. We just have to lean on Him and feel his arms around you and just get through it.
And do you have family members that are there to help you?
Russ actually lost his mother in January and his father in February while he was going through all this. So he doesn't. He has a stepmother that's really, very sweet, and she lives nearby. So we kind of hang out with her now.
Our condolences to you. I know that had to be a hard thing, coming through something like this and losing your parents.
Mm-hmm.
So, well, I want to thank you all. Did Mr. Russ have something to say?
Yes.
Okay.
He mentioned that I didn't have the proper gear on.
Mm-hmm.
I had all my safety gear that I was supposed to have on,
mm-hmm.
and I chose not to use it. But I had it all on, used it a couple times, but I was always in compliance. I had the harness on, safety glasses, a hard hat.
Yeah, that he never got caught. He had all the instruction and all the equipment.
So he knew how to put it on real quick if he saw the bosses coming. Is that what was taking place, Mr. Russ?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, most of the time we would have our gear on, and then once we knew we might be watched, then we used our safety gear.
Wow. And that's good to know. You hear so many different stories out there, and, things can be really twisted. And you've actually shed some light. I thank you for joining us here on A Winning World. I, knew some of the story, but I've learned a lot more today. I thank you all for joining us and being a part of A Winning World. And I pray that God continues to open those doors, and, that you continue to be blessed. And we send prayers to you, Mr. Russ, for your healing. And we want to thank our listening audience for joining us today. Thank you for being a part of A Winning World.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining A Winning World with Shermanda. Do you have a story or testimony and would like to be considered for an interview on the show? Connect on Facebook at A Winning World or Educators for Life, or visit Shermanda.com. Telephone 904-533-5222. Or email connect@educators4life.com. Tune in next week for more winning stories on A Winning World with Shermanda.
Number one.